how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
To infinity and beyond!
Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they?
It's classified.
You talking to me?
I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
I can't lie!
Expecto Patronum!
Entertainment X.
You never know what you're going to get.
For this episode, I sit down with Gabrielle Elisabeth, and we have a wonderful conversation about her path to Broadway. She actually has some really great life lessons that she learned throughout the process of getting to the show and things she's learning while staying in the show. This is like a wonderful conversation for self-help and for ways to keep positivity, spread positivity while maintaining a career in entertainment. So, I hope you enjoy this episode and keep on keeping on. We're back, and today with me is Gabrielle Elisabeth. Gabrielle, thank you for sitting down with me.
Thanks for having me.
We're in the beautiful Stephen Sondheim Theater where beautiful a Carole King Musical is playing. And in the show, you're little Eva, a chorale and ensemble.
Yes.
I read this about you, and I loved it. You're a Midwestern girl with a Southern sensibility.
That's my tagline.
I love that. I want to talk. Let's start right with the show.
Okay.
The audition process.
All right.
Tell us the story.
Okay. So for me to tell the story, I have to start from when I first moved to New York City. So I was working at Disney, which I know we'll get into. And I was like, I had a checklist of things that I wanted to achieve while in Florida and why I went there. I was like, okay, I want to work at Disney Universal, and I want to get my equity card. And I knew working at Disney would get me that equity card.
This is right out of college.
This is no. This is a year and a half after college. I did get my start in theme parks though. My first theme park was Dollywood, which is the best theme park ever, and I love it so much. It's so much fun. So do you want from there?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Right out of college,
yes,
I went to SETC, and I got a job at Dollywood performing as Bertha in Dreamland Drive-In, and I was really nervous to do it because I was playing maybe a woman that ages from like 30 to like maybe 40 or 50 years old. And so I was like, what? You've seen me. I look like a child. I look very young, very
not 30,
youthful.
40, 50.
Not 30, 40, 50. And this was 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And so I went in for that. I did that for a year. And then I had a friend there who was like, well, I'm from Florida, and I think you do really well at Legoland. And I was like, Legoland, I don't really want to do that, but I don't want to stay in Tennessee because I loved it so much, and people tend to get really comfortable in jobs like that. So I was like, I don't want to become that person because I could easily stay here and just be happy. But I know I want more for myself. So then I was like, okay, I had my first job. I have an opportunity to go to Florida and potentially get my equity card at Disney. I'll just start at the bottom at Legoland. No one knows there's even Legoland in Florida. And I moved with a hope and a prayer, and thankfully my uncle lived there. He lived in Plant City. So I was like, okay, hey uncle, can I stay with you until I get on my feet? He was like, great, yes, you can. I lived with him for a month and he kicked me out. Not because I did anything wrong, but like he was like, hey, you've been here about a month, I need you to find a place in 2 weeks. I go, oh, okay. So then like I ended up living with strangers who then became friends, and honestly, him kicking me out was probably the best thing for me. It made me move faster. So then I was like, okay, I'm hating my life at Legoland. I need to get into these bigger theme parks. I auditioned for Universal. I got a job at Harry Potter World, and I know Celestina Warbeck very, very well.
Okay.
I know her very well. And so yeah, I met some great friends there and did some things there.
How long was that before Disney?
This has all happened in a year.
This is months. These are months.
So
right.
I moved to Florida in probably January or February of 2000 and I'm so bad with time. It's maybe 2000 and if I graduated college in 2014, worked at Dollywood from 2014 to 2016.
Great.
Is when this was 2016, 17.
Okay.
So I worked there. I worked at Legoland for like 3 months. I booked Universal in June. I did that from June until November. And then in November, I booked Holidays Around the World, Kwanzaa storyteller at Disney. Well, I became friends with.
Right. Friends with.
I became
we're friends with everyone.
the Kwanzaa storyteller at
Yes.
Disney, which I was the last one to ever do it. After the year I got my equity card, it ended.
Huh.
Isn't that crazy?
That is, yeah.
And so I was like, wow, I believe in God. So I was like, God knew that this was for me. And so I did that. And then I was talking to my man, and he was like, okay, well, now you have your equity card. I finished that contract. And I was like, yeah, but I want to stay here. I want to do Nemo, and I want to do a Lion King. And I was in all like final callbacks for Lion King and stuff like that. And he was like, why? He said, what were your goals when you got there? It's going back to the same thing at Dollywood. Like, what did you set out to do? He was like, I said, get my equity card, work at Disney, work at Universal. He said, you did that. Why not go? And it just so happened that my lovely, lovely best friend, Pilar Rehert, was traveling to New York. And she was like, girl, I'm going to New York. I'm going to go audition. I'm going to go do this. And I was like, I'm going to come visit too. So I visited with her. And we didn't stay together, but like I was like, hey, I'm going to go up at the same time. And I fell in love. And I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So then a week later, I was like, great, I'm moving.
Yes.
And I moved to New York City. And I got here, and I met a girl named Nikisha Williams, who's actually, she was in Color Purple, the tour, and she's now in Hamilton as the swing for the tour, for the, not the MPEGI, the Philip tour. And I was like, hey girl, she worked at this weird place where they sing and serve cheeseburgers. And I was like, that's weird, but hey girl, I need a job. It looks fun. I'd be able to sing. Probably a great place to meet people. Are they hiring? She was like, hey, yeah. Oh my gosh, you'd be great here. Come on and audition. I'll tell my manager about you. And this, unfortunately, was during the time where the strikes and stuff were going on, which I wasn't aware of. That they, the servers a lot of them had gotten fired, and they were unionizing, and that was a big ordeal. But I came in at the tail end of that, so I really didn't even find out about it until I had been working there maybe a month or two. And then they finally, the servers started talking to me, like people who had been there for years and years and years. And it was a really sad situation, but it worked out well for me. And I was like, wow, I have never really struggled in New York City. I've had my share of struggles because I am a workaholic. So I put things on myself. But I had this really great job that paid really well. I made friends almost immediately within this community. People have been so open and welcoming to me. So I've been working there, and it's a very draining job.
Yeah, serving
it's serving, and it's
singing.
mainly it's the talking over the loud music. It's exhausting to be like, hi, and I'm placing everything so that I'm not super guttural and like killing my vocal cords. But it's an exhausting job, and it's 8-hour shifts, sometimes more, but just depending on what's going on, because it's one of the busiest restaurants in the world. But it's such great money, and again, it's such a great community, and we're all like family there. I love each and every person that works there. You just get so close. And so I did that for about a year. And I was auditioning while I was doing it, but I was working at that restaurant like 6 days a week because I'm paying off my student loans. I've paid my way all through college and everything, and just taking care of myself for the most part. And so I don't want to be in debt. And I'm still in the process of doing it. But I was like, I'm just going to work my butt off and audition. But what was happening was, because I was singing and talking so much, I wasn't putting my best foot forward in these auditions. So I think they could tell, like, they always liked me, and I would get callbacks, never for regional work, only for Broadway shows, which I thought was bizarre. But I was like, well, maybe it's because there's only theme parks on my resume. Maybe they're like, well, we can't take this girl serious. But I was like, well, why am I getting callbacks for like Lion King and Dear Evan Hansen? You know what I mean? Like, why are these things happening? But I'm not. I just want to go work at Gateway. Like, just give me. I just want a job.
I just want to be on a stage.
I just want to be on a stage.
Yeah.
And then finally, I know. And so my man, he lives in he's in the Marine. He was in the Marine Corps, and he left after 4 years, and we compromised that LA was a place that we both could do what we want to do. He's going to USC now, and he also, and he's going to USC, and then I could do television and film there.
Yeah.
So eventually, after the New York thing, I was like, okay, I'll come live there with you. And so we have a whole apartment there. That's technically home for me now. And so finally, it got to the point where I was like, hey, babe, I'm ready to go home. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm tired. I don't want to sing anymore. I sang so much at this diner. I'm done. I don't want to do it.
This is after a year of doing it.
This is after a year of doing it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like, I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore. I'll probably come back every so often so I can keep this job at Ellen's because it's such good money. Like, I could just fly in, work a couple of shifts, and come back. And it's great money.
Good.
Because that's how the restaurant's set up for people to, like, go off on contracts and come back.
You just got to be back for a little. Yeah.
Exactly.
Good. That's good.
And so I was like, okay, well, I decided this very quickly. It was like a month. I was like, I'm going to move. And I'm subletting, so I didn't have to worry about a lease or furniture or anything. Just pretty much the clothes on my back. And I moved. And then my managers contacted me, and they were like, hey, we know you're gone, but, like, would you want to come in for Dear Evan Hansen? They want you to come. They want to see you again for the tour. And I was like, all right. And also Beautiful wants you to come in. I said, oh, no, I've never been in for them. And I was like, hey, babe, what do you think about this? And he was like, well, I mean, you should do it. Like, you this is what you've always wanted. At least try. I was like, you're right. It'd be wrong for me not to at least try. But this was after a month of living in LA. I was happy. Let me tell you. Oh, I was happy.
Sun.
The sun was shining down. I was surrounded by my things and my furniture and subletting is exhausting. You never really feel at home.
No.
It always feels foreign because you're in someone else's things that they picked out that they love.
Yep.
So being in there, it was like I'm surrounded by my man and my art and my furniture and the food that I want. Like, it was just happiness.
And the weather that I want.
And the weather that I want. You got it. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back. And I was fresh faced. I was happy. Yeah. And so I had nothing to lose. So I called Pilar and I was like, hey girl, I need a place to stay for a couple of days. I was like, I'm gonna come for a week because I might as well work a couple of shifts at Ellen's and get some extra cash. Yeah. So I was like, hey girl, I'm coming into town. Can I stay on your couch or whatever? She's like, of course. So I stupidly I thought I booked my flight for Sunday because the audition was Monday. Yeah. I thought I booked it to come in on Sunday so I'd have a whole day to relax. I booked it. It was an overnight flight. It was Sunday, but it was at midnight or 11. And then I got into LaGuardia at 6 a.m. And I called Pilar and she was like, hey, take my keys. She was dog sitting. So like, take my keys, go to my apartment. I called my mom and I was like, Mom, will you wake me up in an hour? I didn't sleep on the flight either. I was like, Mom, can you wake me up in an hour? I have this audition at 10 o'clock. So I told my mom to wake me up because I only had an hour to nap because, again, I had to be at Pearl. I had to be at Pearl.
The whole reason you flew
at 10
there.
o'clock. The whole reason. It's like, Mom, I have to be there at 10, so I have to leave here by 9.
Yeah.
At the latest, 9:15. So she was like, okay, my poor baby. My mom's the sweetest person in the world. My poor baby. Okay, I'll call you Sweetie Pie because I'm a mama's girl. And so I napped on Pilar's bed for an hour. My mom called. I heard it, thankfully, because I'm a deep sleeper. But I woke up and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm so tired, but whatever. I get to go back to California, so it's all good. This is low stakes. And the first audition was for Beautiful. And so I sang for them. And as soon as I walked in that room, the energy was different than any audition I've ever been in. And Joyce is the resident choreographer, and she's my heart and soul, and she has always been on my side because I'm a actor singer first. Dancing is last. I can do it, but it takes me some time because I got a BA, not a BFA, and my school, University of West Georgia, they don't have a dance program there. So, and honestly, I wasn't even supposed to be a theater major, but we'll get into that. Okay. So dance is always at the bottom for me. It's something I can do, but it's not the first thing that it takes time for me to learn choreography. But I walk in immediately. I just feel the energy that they want me. I feel it. And I'm just like, they say, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to sing, whatever. They gave me the sides. They wanted me to just sing Locomotion. I start singing, and I do this one thing a little different because it's I know you get to like, well, it's I know you get to like it if you give it a chance now. But I go, I know you get to like it. It's just this one little note that I did different, and they just wake up and light up. And I just walked out. They were like, thank you so much. Can you come back later to dance? I was like, of course. And then they say, okay, make sure you wear heels. I was like, okay. And the issue was I left my heels at Pilar's apartment in my suitcase. I was like, darn it. So I walk out, and I'm asking, I know almost everyone at this call because most Black people in the city know one another.
It's a community.
It's a community.
Yeah, it's a small one.
And I say, did they tell you to wear heels? No. Did they tell you to wear heels? No. Did they tell you to wear heels? No. It's like, why did they only tell me to wear heels? Well, I better wear heels is what I'm thinking. So I was about to just walk out and go to like Capizio and just buy some heels. But then my friend was like, oh, girl, I don't care. I'm going to wear my sneakers. You can wear my character shoes. And I go, okay, I'm a size 6.5. She's a size 9. So I was like, I don't think this is going to work. But I was like, you know what? I'll just go get some tissue from the bathroom. I'll stuff the shoes.
Make it
It'll
work.
be fine. I don't know why I did that. I shouldn't have done that. And the heel was like less than an inch.
Yeah.
Less than an inch. So not high
God.
enough at all.
Yeah.
Like it should have been 2 or 3 inches. And they were less than an inch. And I go into this call and I learned it. And I'm exhausted, remember?
Yeah.
Exhausted. And I couldn't retain any of the choreography. So I did the very, very beginning in these tiny little baby heels. And then I forget the rest of the choreography and I step touch to the end. Smiling.
Of course.
But I step touch to the end.
Yes, you did.
And that was really embarrassing. And as I was watching the rest of the people kill it, I was so in my head about it. And I was like, well, how could you? This was easy. This is actually choreography that you could do. You just should have planned better. Why did you do this so last minute? You just blew your opportunity is what I thought to myself. But I still smiled nonetheless because I was like, no, you still have friends in this room. So don't break down and cry like you want to. Cheer on your friends and get the attention off yourself. Don't pay attention to yourself. Just be present and focus on what your friends are doing and cheer them on, because at the end of the day, even if I don't book it, I hope my friends do. And I left that call so upset. And before I went for the dance call, I had Dear Evan Hansen, didn't get a call back. That didn't happen, so that's neither here nor there. But so I left and I called Pilar and my mom and stuff, and I'm like, I messed up. Like, I really blew that opportunity, and that could have been something really great for me. And I get back to the apartment, and Pilar finally gets home, and I'm talking to her, and I'm like, I just start I hold back tears, but she knew I was gonna cry. And then she goes in her room, and then I sob for like an hour.
Like a good friend, she left.
Like a good friend.
So you could do your thing.
You
could do your
honestly,
thing.
because she knows me.
Yeah, exactly.
And she knew I wasn't gonna cry in front of her, so she walked out, and then I sobbed. So I'm sobbing, and then I was like, okay, that's enough. You had your hour. That's enough.
Yeah.
Stop crying. Pick yourself back up because you got to move forward.
Yeah.
And I turned on. I was like, okay, I need to be inspired. So I turned on. This is when Issa Rae was like really in the media, and they were talking about her HBO show Insecure, and I think season 2 was about to come out or something. So she was doing a lot of interviews. So I was like, I'm gonna just research shows with Issa Rae, like interviews. So I listened to an interview of her talking about all of her failures and all the failures that she had to have in order to achieve what she has now. And and she like had an opportunity for something else with the lady who writes Scandal and How to Get Away with Murder. Her name is evading me at this moment, but talks about her and how she gave her a chance, and she blew it. And she was like, dang it, I'm never going to get another opportunity again. And I was like, wow, that's literally what I'm going through right now. He said, but instead she let that made her work harder and made her be more prepared for the next time she got an opportunity. And I was like, okay, that's what I needed. So then I went to sleep, and I just accepted the fact that I wasn't going to get a call back, and I'm just going to go to work tomorrow because I had a shift at 5:00 at Ellen's that night for the next day. And I went to bed, and then I wake up the next morning, and I have an email with a callback. And I scream, and I'm so happy. And I'm like, Pilar, look. And I call my mom, and I call my man, and I'm like, look, oh my gosh. Okay, it's in 4 days. I don't know the choreography. Remember, I step touch to the end.
Yeah.
I don't know it. So I message 2 friends, and I'm like, that were at the call, and they did really well with the choreography. And I was like, hey, I know this is unheard of, and I know you probably have callbacks for this as well, but is there any way you could teach me the choreography? Please, I'll pay you. Please. And my friend Leandra goes, girl, don't even worry. Just give me some banana pudding from Magnolia Bakery.
That stuff is so good.
It's like crack. It's
oh
so
my
good.
Goodness. Am I going there after this?
Oh, I know. I went there yesterday,
Oh
actually.
my goodness. Why did you say that?
And did
Okay,
you know
yes.
they have multiple flavors? They have caramel,
I
they have
didn't.
chocolate.
Don't tell me this. Stop
and
talking.
And they have
Stop
regular.
it.
And then around Halloween or like pumpkin spice season, they have pumpkin.
Oh,
I know.
no.
I know. You're welcome.
Oh, I do like pumpkin. Pumpkin
good.
beer. I like the pumpkin flavored beer.
Ooh,
That's
pumpkin
my.
beer.
I don't know why it's like my thing.
Sounds
But
good.
anyway, Magnolia Bakery. Go check them out.
so
They did not pay us for
They
this.
did not.
So you
But
get
they
her some.
should.
They should. They got us
So
some.
I got her some Magnolia banana pudding.
Yeah, yeah.
And she does the dance and teaches it to me, and I record her so that I can practice on my own.
Yeah.
And I basically learned it and polished it on my own
Yeah.
watching this video. And then I remember I had a shift that day.
Right.
So I went to work. I'm doing it at the diner, just rehearsing, and my friends are helping me and watching me do it. I'm like, do I look good? How is my foot? How is this? How is that? And then there are people at the diner that sing One Fine Day, which is one of the audition songs we have to do for the choreography. And so anytime somebody sang it, I just rehearsed the dance.
Yes, you did. Come on.
And they still talk about that to this day. They'll call me and talk to me and bring that up and make fun of me. But then finally, that was a Tuesday. The callback was Friday, I believe, or Thursday or Friday. And I go in, and I messed up again. I didn't have a book. I didn't have a book for, like, if they wanted to ask for me to sing something else. I had the music, but I didn't have a binder. But I was like, they're not going to ask for that. It'll be fine.
Yeah, at this point, right? Why would they want to hear anything else?
So I go in. It was around 2:00. I had to work that night at 5. But I was like, it's not going to take this long. It'll be like an hour. No. So I go in, sing Locomotion. Went great. I go out. They tell us all to hang on. And so I had to wait for all the other girls to go. Probably like 20 of us. And then they said, we're just going to ask for a couple people to stay. It doesn't mean anything. It always means something. It doesn't mean anything. But we want to hear these ladies again. They call 5 of us. I was one of the names. It's like, okay, great. It's 4:00. So I'm like, okay, I got to get to work. So I call my manager and I'm like, hey, I'm going to be late. I'm going to be about an hour late. Just wanted you to know. They were cool with it. Yeah. I go in again, and this really kind girl let me use. I was like, hey, I don't have a book. Like, can I bring your book in with me? She let me do it. Because people are just nice.
Yes. It pays to be nice.
It
does.
to be nice.
Yeah.
And I sing Locomotion. They were like, great. I go back out. They call me back in again. This time that girl had already been dismissed. And I still have my sheet music, but I don't have anything to put it in. But I just put it down next to me. They're like, okay, can you sing Locomotion again? It's like, okay, this is the 3rd time, but absolutely. I sing Locomotion again. And then they're like, okay, do you have something else for us to hear? And I go, yeah. So I grab the sheet music. I go over to the pianist, and her name's Sharon. I love her now. And I go,
Sharon.
hi. And she goes, don't worry. And she takes it from me and like puts it in her book. She has a book because, she was playing music already. So she had a binder, and she just put it. My music was in sheet protectors. So she put it in the book and plays it for me. It's Please, Mr. Postman.
Yeah.
And I sing that for them. And they were like, awesome. Great. And can you do Locomotion again? I think they wanted to make sure I had stamina. So that's why they were like, can she do this 8 times a week?
Is that particularly high?
It's a very high mix.
It is a high mix.
It's a high mix. Not everyone can do it.
I mean, no, because this happens a lot. This happens a lot, for songs that and I can tell more with men that I'm like, oh well, yeah, they need you to do that 5 times today. Chat about your life and then ask you to do it one more time just before you leave the room. Can you just hear it one more time? I just want to,
just want to be
smart.
sure.
Oh yeah,
because they want to be sure that I can do it.
Yeah.
And I did it, and they were like, and I was in my work uniform. I had changed from what I auditioned in, and I was in an Ellen's shirt and like uniform, ready to leave to go to work.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, that's all we need. And I said, okay, thanks. And I just like bounce on out.
Yeah.
Just being myself. And then I fly back to California the next day. I think it was a Saturday. I get home and I tell my man everything and how well it went. And I was agonizing, like, am I going to get this? It feels like I'm going to get this.
Yeah.
But I hadn't heard anything. Granted, it was the weekend. So I was like, I shouldn't really expect anything. So, but if I don't hear anything by Sunday night, I'm just going to let it go. I didn't hear anything by Sunday night. I let it go. I wake up the next morning to a phone call from my agent. And he's like, are you sitting down? And I go, yeah, what's going on? You just booked Beautiful. And I scream. And I'm like, yay. Sorry for your ears.
God.
I just screamed out.
You're good.
But I'm like, I screamed and I was so happy. And they were like, okay, you got to book a flight tonight. Like, you have to be back tonight because you have to see the show tomorrow. And they want you to start rehearsing this week.
Of course they do.
I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. I'm booking my flight. I booked a $600 flight to come back to New York City that same day. This was 9:00 in the morning. I came back, what time? I got back at like 10 o'clock that night, and I didn't have a place to stay, so I had to talk to friends. It wasn't Pilar this time. She did offer though, but I stayed with someone else, and I booked my first Broadway show in a matter of a week. That doesn't happen.
No,
it happens over months, maybe years. Like, I have a friend who just booked Hamilton Chicago, and he I think he was in callbacks for 2 years. Like, they kept calling him in. You know how it goes. Hey, let's see you for this. Okay, we don't need you right now. Hey, let's see you again. Same role, but he finally booked it. But I did that in a week. Wow. 7 days. It's insane. And that's my story.
Did you feel like they still wanted you when you went back with the tissue in your shoes that day? For the dance?
Oh, yes.
Did you feel that the following? Or no,
at the callback, I had my actual shoes.
Okay.
So it was fine. But when I was in Joyce, our resident choreographer, she says to me, you had these little baby heels. And I was just like, what is she doing? We liked you so much. But we were like, what is going on? So for rehearsal, they gave me rehearsal shoes because they thought I didn't have heels tall enough. Kindness. But it was just funny that they definitely noticed.
You're like,
and then
no,
I
can
her,
go get them. It was just that one thing.
Exactly. But I still appreciate it. I still wear those shoes to this day. They're my lucky shoes.
Yes, you do.
They're my lucky shoes. And I wear them when we have rehearsal here. But they're locomotion shoes.
Did you feel like they were still wanting you the next day as well? You felt that energy?
Oh, yeah.
That was energy was going through.
Definitely.
Okay.
It was mainly Joyce. I honestly don't even, Jason, now I know Jason Howland was in the room and Mark Bruni, the director. And, but at the time I only saw Joyce. Right. I only saw her because she was giving me this energy of, I want you. I want you. And I wasn't the best again at dancing, but now I know that, the backside of it. And people were asking her, like the director and the music director, can you get her there? Do you think she'll be okay? Do you think she'll do better? And she said she knew that I'd be okay because when she saw me the next time I came in, I had improved. So it was clear that I was a hard worker. And she took a chance on me. Yeah. She took a chance. And that doesn't happen often. No. Usually they want you to be polished and already ready. Yeah. But she took a chance on me. And people like say she was your champion. She really was. She wanted me, and she saw something in me that she knew could be cultivated.
This is really a great point because you see this, and I was telling you about my friend Alex, his journey into A Bronx Tale last summer, and he finished, and the director goes up to him and is like, "You're great. I just don't know you." And that's like the most honest verbalization of what everyone's thinking when you're down to the end of, the final whatevers, because they want to, like, it's no longer about like, okay, great, you have it. I mean, it's like, do you have the stamina and all that? But like, what is your personality? Yeah. Who are you? Not who are you in this role or whatever. It's who are you?
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, and I don't know if I heard this from one of the creatives here or an actor here or someone, but probably Doug Lyons, who I love and adore, and you should actually get him on your show, and I could work that out. But
Yes.
Doug Lyons, he's he's writing a musical right now called Bo. He writes children's books. He directs. He's
What
a
doesn't he do?
creative. He does everything.
Okay.
Because he's all about why not? Why not? He lives every day as if it's his last, honestly. And so there's no time to waste.
None.
But basically saying they hire people.
Yes.
Yes, you
Yeah,
need
they
to
do.
have the talent and you need to present yourself professionally. But at the end of the day, can you get along with people? I found out later that the creatives were asking people in the cast, how's she doing? Not how's she doing on stage, backstage.
Yeah.
How is she backstage? Is she kind? Like, what's going on? And Joyce, I keep talking about her, but I love her. She said to me, when you join the cast, like, just fill it out. Don't cause a big like wave. Like, just see where you fit. Just try, because that's how with long running shows, you don't want to cause a ripple. You just want to fit in seamlessly.
Yeah,
She
find your
said,
lane.
Find your lane. Find your lane. Thankfully,
Yeah.
it was easy here because they hire very like-minded people, I think.
Yeah.
Professionals and just kind humans.
Mm-hmm.
People who just show up and want to do a good job and don't want problems.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. I have like a very large question for you, and I think it's something that we're going to just dissect over the next section of this interview about how life kind of prepared you for this moment and the lessons that you learned from maybe other, quote unquote opportunities that you missed, lost, blew, whatever you want to. Does anything come to mind?
I will say something that definitely prepared me for Broadway were theme parks.
Hello.
Like, there are some talented people in these theme parks.
Yeah.
And I need people to understand that, because I feel like theme parks get a really bad rep.
Oh,
like,
so
you
cruises.
work at a theme park, you
Yeah,
work on a
cruise-
cruise
yeah.
line. No, baby. They're very talented.
Yeah.
And they have voices like no other that can sustain and withstand anything. Because you have to.
Yeah.
You have to. You have to learn how to sing at your worst and at your best.
Yep.
And that's just the reality. So that definitely helped, because singing at Universal in that heat, I was in outdoor theater, so
Oh, Lord. Yeah.
awful, and I have allergies, so terrible.
Yeah.
But that definitely prepared me. Singing at Ellen's definitely prepared me. Having that vocal stamina, I have cords of freaking steel, and I know how to take care of it. I know how to do self-care, and an opportunity missed would be The Color Purple. It felt like an opportunity missed. I didn't even get to like final callbacks or anything, but to me, when a casting agency calls you into their facility, like their actual place, they're really, really highly considering you. And Telsey called me, and this could just be made up in my mind, but that's what I think. And Telsey called me in for the swing for The Color Purple. And I was like, whoa. And they wanted me to be Celie, which I was like, that would have been the main cover that I would have done. I was like, that doesn't really sound like me, but I can sing it. I'm just going to sing it my way. And I went in, and I had just worked a shift at Ellen's, and I couldn't sing it to its full potential because I was tired. And I just was like kicking myself, because then one of my good friends, Nikisha Williams, ended up booking it. So it was great, but it felt like something was taken from me. Like, and I couldn't even be and celebrate her the way that I wanted to. I mean, maybe it didn't come across that way to her, but I couldn't celebrate her in the way that I should have, because I was so focused on missing out on that opportunity. But at the end of the day, I didn't miss anything. It wasn't my opportunity.
Where does this come from?
My
Where
mo-
does this belief? No, that's a lot of
Well-
trust in the circle of life. I mean, it's a big
That's
trust you're
true.
putting in it.
I think it comes from my faith. Honestly, I grew up in a Christian household, Lutheran, and my mom and my family were just we're strong believers in Christ. And and I don't think God would have given me this gift to sing and perform and to emote such deep emotions if it wasn't what I was supposed to do. I remember being a little kid. I was around maybe 5 or 6, and I was watching kids on Disney Channel, as we do.
Yeah.
I was like, Mommy, I could do that. I was so shy. I was such a shy little girl. And I said, Mom, I could do that. And she said, yeah, you could. You could do that one day if you wanted to. And I kind of went away from it when I got older, because I was like, well, no, I have to be practical. I didn't come from a lot of money or anything like that. So I was like, I need to get a job that's going to pay my bills, because I know that I don't want to live in this bad neighborhood, or I don't want to live. And, I know what I want for my life. I know I want to be successful, and I want nice things.
Yeah.
So I was going to be a lawyer. I was going to be a lawyer, and I got into college, and I was an English major, and my mom was like, well, maybe you should just audition for the musical. I was like, Mom, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm done with that. I don't want to do that anymore. And she was like, just go. And I did it, and I got a part in Rent.
Yes, you did.
And I was just the ensemble, and I fell in love all over again. And it just reminded me, and I ended up double majoring in English and theater because of that. And it just reminded me that this is what I'm supposed to do. I think that everyone has a calling on their life. It's just a matter if you listen.
Yeah, your life is speaking to you. What is it saying?
Your life is speaking to you.
It's true.
Yeah. I listened, and that's why. And I think having that foundation in God and my mother's support, and just, I don't know, just listening.
Yeah. Has there come up in times where like you find yourself not listening, or ever, or is it, or had you, or have you? And if so, is there a reminder you give yourself? Or did that used to happen and now it's kind of more like...
well, it still happens, and I think it presents itself in fear. A lot of times when I'm afraid to do something, it's usually the thing I need to do. So let me see if I can give an example.
If I'm afraid to do something, it's usually the thing I'm supposed to do. That's so... Oh, that's good. Sorry, continue.
Okay. And so something I like, for example... I challenge myself to do one thing a day that terrifies me, that makes me uncomfortable.
Okay.
That's even if it doesn't have to terrify, it just makes me uncomfortable. So like whether that's like the other day I went on a run in Central Park. I didn't want to run. I didn't want to do anything. I already do the locomotion. That's a full mile. It's cold. But I did it because I didn't want to do it. And also when I love weightlifting. That's something that I do enjoy doing, but I don't have a gym membership right now. And I lost my train of thought. I know the days where I need to work out. It's always the days when I don't want to. I know that that's what I need to be doing because I don't want to do it. I know when I need to be eating healthy because I know I want to order a pizza. So instead of ordering, and I still eat pizza and cake and stuff, but I have to do it in moderation. But I know when I need to because, is that making sense?
That's making a whole lot of sense.
I know those are on smaller scales, but even coming back to New York for the audition, there was a sense of calmness for it because I knew that I had something in California, but I also was scared. I was like, I actually do care about this and I actually do want it. So I need to go. I need to go because there's some apprehension in here. It's like butterflies or knots in your stomach. I know that that's something that I need to do. I wish I could come up with a better example.
These are great because I'm always fascinated with that balance between like fear and gratitude and like what are you afraid of and why aren't you doing it because of social conditioning that you get about like, what fear means to you. But like being afraid of, dying is not the same as being afraid of or not wanting to, which comes to fear of going to like exercise. Yeah. Or to eat healthy.
Absolutely.
Because that's gratitude on your life. You're showing gratitude and be grateful for yourself. The fact that you're alive.
How do you grow if you don't do things that are uncomfortable? It's like, think about how do you learn to walk? Yeah. How did you learn to speak? You messed up. How did I learn to sing? I sang a bunch of bad notes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you can't expect, I feel like when we're younger, it's fine. Like we know we're going to fail and we're okay with that. We're okay with falling down and making quote unquote fools of ourselves.
It's acceptable.
But it's acceptable.
It's not
but
acceptable.
The older you get,
the older you get.
it feels
quote
not
unquote,
acceptable.
quote unquote.
It
yeah.
feels unacceptable.
Yeah.
But it is. How are you supposed to learn? How are you supposed to grow? I'm not a dancer, but I'm dancing every day on a Broadway stage because I go to ballet beginners. I had never taken a ballet class a day in my life, but I went because I wanted to be better. I go to these musical theater dance classes. What else do I do? I performed for the first time at 54 Below.
I saw that.
Was so
You
much
sounded
fun.
great.
I was so nervous.
You sounded
So
great.
nervous
Couldn't,
because
could not tell.
But I'm like, I have a very light, bright tone. And there was I was singing Aretha Franklin, and I didn't want to take that song and do it. I didn't want to do it wrong. But what I had to remind myself is they hired you, and they hired you and what you do. So I don't have to pretend to be anyone else, but I just be myself. And if I do the work and I prepare and I know my words and I know my notes and I've prepared, then that's all you can do. I can't worry about how someone else is going to take it. I'm not performing for you. I'm performing because it's something that needs to be told.
I'm doing my very best.
Yes, I'm doing my very
that
best.
That's
it. That's all you can focus on. Because people are going to have opinions about you regardless of what you do. People are going to talk about you regardless, whether it's good or whether it's bad. They're going to talk. So instead of focusing on that, no, I just want to do my very best. The end. Beyonce, and it feels so funny to quote Beyonce, and I'm going to mess up the quote, but I was watching an interview with her, and she was saying how she gets scared all the time, but she loves doing the things that scare her. It makes her excited when and I think that most people who are successful have that same story, because you're not going to grow unless you do that.
Unless you jump in.
Jump into the deep end, and you're either going to sink or swim. But if you sink, eventually you're going to figure it out. You know? Think about little babies. They throw infants into the pool and they can swim.
Yeah.
They just flip over and they start swimming. It's crazy.
You know, it's funny because this is not an interview about me, but it inspires me to share a quick story. When I was in high school, I used to play, and I took 3 formal drum lessons, but I play the drums in a church rock band.
Cool.
And we would rehearse an hour before the mass and then play. Regardless of whether or not you figured out the song, you were playing in front of 100 people.
Yeah.
And there's that fear that you learn to shut the switch off. You learn to shut off. Okay, well, it's not about them. They're not paying attention. They're not even here to hear us. They're here to pray. Let's be real. But regardless of how I sound, or even if I screw up, you don't show it in the face. You just keep going, because at that point, like, either people know or they don't. So to harp on it, or when someone compliments you afterwards and you say, "Oh yeah, but in that other song and you belittle a compliment of someone."
To take it.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that. It's so hard for me to take a compliment.
But it's a muscle that needs to be exercised, because then you're almost insulting the person who paid a couple $100 to see you and then take the time to wait after to compliment you.
Exactly.
And then for you to say to them,
you're minimizing their
no.
experience.
Yes, exactly. And so this thing would happen in church, and then I would do some DJing where I was just like, I had never DJed. I don't know, it was like a runway show, fashion show at college. And I was like, welp, we're going to try it. You know what I mean? But it's not, I know, and it sounds unhealthy to say compartmentalizing emotions, but certain ones need to be. Like fear, you need to address it for what it is and how it is and what it actually means. It's not, you're not going to get burned on a stove because you're afraid of the heat. It's not that. You're not going to get hurt. You just have to jump in.
Well, you might get hurt, though.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It's okay. I think we have to be okay with the pain, growing pains.
Yeah.
You got to be okay with it.
Yeah.
Bad things are going to happen because it's called life. So regardless if you're holding your breath or not, it's going to happen regardless. It's just a matter of how you deal with it. It's problem solving.
And the fascinating part is if you start paying attention to your life, it will show you. It will. You'll lead you. Yeah.
It's just like harmony. I love to sing, and I specifically love singing a cappella and in harmony, because there are these moments when you're singing in harmony that I don't know, it just makes your whole soul just shiver. And you know, it's like when everything is just in this, it's specifically in choral music, there's it just feels like it feels ethereal. I don't know, I don't even know how to describe it, but listening to it feels great, but singing in it, with everyone and everyone's just listening to one another, I don't know. It just does something to me. And I think that's a great metaphor for life. Like, if you just listen and you're present, it's like when you were drumming, you're not paying attention. You're getting the attention off of yourself and you're just listening to the other parts and creating something
Because the
within
second
that
you
moment.
stop, you're off beat.
Yep.
Or you're out of the key.
Yep.
You're out of the chord.
And you stand out like a sore thumb.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to be present. And if you get off, that's fine, but you can find your way back because you're listening. So listen. I guess that's the
To everyone
moral of
around
it
you.
all.
I know
Listen.
it's such an interesting thing to articulate because it almost can come off as like, well, you can only do this if you're spiritual or if you believe in
but
something higher.
No,
That's not true.
It's not true.
It's not true. And it's just, I'm always trying to figure out how to articulate it because some people figured it out and some people aren't and want to, and they eventually will.
And some people are doing it and they don't even realize what they're doing. Some people just have it innately, I think. Like, they just got it. Like, I think, people say that person has that it factor. They have that it. There's just something about them. And dang it, I figured it out the other day, but now I can't even remember exactly how to say it.
right
I
when we're recording.
Right
The second we record, it's like you forget now.
But I think it's self-awareness.
That's exactly what it is.
I had it prettier before, but to sum it up, it's self-awareness and it's knowing who you are and what you bring to the table. But what's funny about knowing who you are, I think we're ever changing. I read Michelle Obama's book, Becoming. And that woman, she's such an inspiration. She talks about, she hates when parents ask their kids or adults ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? She says she thinks it's one of the worst things you can ever ask a child because you don't have to just be one thing. She was a lawyer and then she became first lady. Now she's doing nonprofit work. You know what I mean? We're ever changing. I've worked at theme parks. I've worked at Kroger grocery store. I've worked, I've been a student. I'm an actress on Broadway. I want to eventually be an activist. I want to foster children. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many things that I want to do. I'm not just one thing. And I think knowing that and having that self-awareness and having that confidence when you walk into a room makes all the difference. Oh.
And people
it makes all the difference.
People can see it.
People can
feel it.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, not asking children what you want to be.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like firefighter,
That's a lot of
doctor.
pressure.
It is at a young age too.
I think they should have some idea of like what their interests are.
Yeah.
For sure, but to have all that, I don't know. I feel like it's a lot of pressure. It's like you can do whatever you want. Just whatever you do it with all. Whatever. Oh, my mother always says, "Whatever thou foundest with thy hand to do," I'm butchering it. Do it with all thy might. So regardless of what you're doing, whether it's this interview, whether it's singing, cooking, anything that you decide to do, you put your best foot forward. Always.
I love this. We could keep on that track for another hour. Curious about the books you've read.
Oh yeah, so
on self-help and
Becoming by Michelle Obama, which just came out probably not even 6 months ago. You Are a Badass, which is what I read right before I booked Beautiful by Jen Sincero. I'm butchering her last name, but Sincero.
I've heard of the book. Yeah.
It's a great book, and I think everyone should read it. The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Those are some great life principles. And let's see. I think that's really. I mean, I've read like almost 50 books last year, so they kind of meshed together. But those are some of my favorite reads.
Have you always been a reader, or is this a new?
Yeah.
Is reading 50 books in 12 months a new thing for you?
I like to pretend I'm a better reader than I am. I did not get to 50, but I was close.
Yeah.
But my mother always read to me as a child. And she never read children's books to me. She read like The Secret Garden or Moby Dick or the Anne Frank story.
Not The Hungry Caterpillar.
Not The Hungry Caterpillar.
Good
we
Night
had
Moon.
a couple of them. Like I love Topsy Turvy. I don't know if you've ever read that book, but I love that book.
Yes,
but
I have.
She read. That's how I would go to sleep. She would read these books to me.
Oh, wow.
I've actually never. That made my heart happy. I've never really said this out loud to anyone. But yeah, she would read these stories to us. I have 6 older brothers. I'm the only girl, which is probably why I'm a mama's girl, because I'm her baby. And yeah, that's how we would go to bed at night. She would just read these books to us, and my brothers kind of grew out of it, but I always wanted her to continue to read to me, and I didn't want to learn to read when it took me forever to learn to read because I didn't want her to stop reading to me. And I thought a kid's not rational, and I was like, if I learn to read, Mom's not going to do it anymore. So I didn't want to read. But I finally learned at about age 8. I know it's a long time, but I could read words, but I never read sentences.
Reading is so important, and I hated it. Hated it. Like I had to read the first Harry Potter book one summer and sit inside instead of play. Like that was the thing. My mom's homework assignment for me over the summer was to read this, and I hated it. But the second I found books I liked, it was over.
It was easier.
Yeah, because then I would do like some lifeguarding, but I would read. I mean, you just read all day. You ain't gonna have a TV out there.
Exactly.
And reading is like all of the best stuff I've ever learned came from a book.
But once I get out of the habit of it, it's hard to get back into it. But
yeah,
it's a
that's
very
true.
meditative and therapeutic process. It makes you shut out the world, and you're just in the story, and you can travel anywhere and everywhere you want. And I think I realized the importance of books in high school. I went to a public high school for the first time. That was a very traumatic experience because I was homeschooled.
Yeah.
So I was just thrown into this new place, and I ended up in AP English. And they gave us To Kill a Mockingbird. Still to this day, one of my favorite books. And now it's on Broadway. I need to go see it.
Great
I haven't
production.
yet.
It's great.
Is it?
It's worth it.
Okay, I have to go.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, that reignited that spark in me of reading and writing and storytelling. And then that's why I studied English. And I was like, I'm going to be a lawyer because at least I'll get to perform, is what I told myself. I'll get to perform in the courtroom. Yeah. And my brother, I'm a very sweet and kind person, but I'm also vicious. And my brother always says, you'd be a great lawyer because you're so unexpected. He said, you're small but mighty is what he'll always say.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
But yeah, so that's my love of books and storytelling. And now I haven't written a whole lot because writing to me is such a personal thing. And I don't know, it terrifies me, which is why I know I need to do it. But I want to start getting into writing, and one of my goals is to write a children's book. I want to write a screenplay. I want to get into doing documentaries and telling stories. Yeah.
The hurdle for me with writing was, are my words important enough
that's how I
to
feel.
Put them down for other people to hear?
Yes.
Like, is what I have to say really that important? Where
Do I
someone
sound
would
stupid?
pay to see this or read it?
Agreed. That's my biggest roadblock, and something I'm learning to, my hurdle that I'm learning to jump over right now.
Yeah. Wow.
And I think, but I might fail. People might hate what I write, but that's okay. That's okay.
It's part of the game.
It's part of the game. And how are you supposed to grow if you don't do it?
I love that. Why homeschooling?
Okay. So, I mean, it goes back to religious things, but the main reason, the first reason, my brother was having a hard time with math in 2nd grade, and the teacher wasn't really helping him. And my mom was like, okay, well, they're going to hold him back. I don't want them to do that and him still not do well. And they're clearly not teaching him the way he needs to be taught. Yeah. So instead, I'm going to pull him out of school. I'm going to pull my other brother out because my mom had her first kid at 19 and had me at 38. Okay. So there's a big age gap between a lot of us. So there's 3 that are around the same age and then 4 of us that are around the same age.
Great. Okay.
So she pulled out the one in 2nd grade, 1st grade, and kindergarten. And I had just been born, so I had never been to school. And she took her, she was working she was an interim, I don't know if that's the word, interim dean of the College of Business at UIC. Okay. And so she pulled her pension early, left her job, and taught all of us at home. And she also wanted to instill in us our religious beliefs. She wanted us to have a strong foundation, essentially. And so no matter what the world threw at us, we always knew what was right, what was wrong, and what we believed. And she also didn't want us to just memorize things. She wanted us to actually internalize and learn. Smart. Because school, a lot of times, they're like, learn this for 1 year. Okay, you memorized it, great, move on. You're not learning it. And so
you memorize it for the test.
You memorize it for the test.
Yep.
And so a lot of times when we would learn things in history, we would just go to the museum. We would go to the museum and learn about Native Americans, learn about the technology. And Chicago has some amazing museums. If you ever go, please do that circle
I'm
of
gonna
the
have to.
museums. It's amazing.
I've never been, but yeah.
I've
okay.
been so many times.
Yeah.
I loved it. We grew up in there, and
Yeah.
the library used to have these. They have free days for the museums. So
Yeah.
we go to the library. They would give us this card, and then we would all get in the museum for free.
Oh, I love that.
Or very, very cheap. Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's it.
Where did you learn your like social cues with kids your age? Like, where were you interacting
So,
with
That was
other
hard.
small humans?
There are homeschool groups,
Okay.
so I met a lot of them. But what really helped was playing with the kids outside. And
Yeah.
I was so lame. I used to walk my friends to school in the morning because I wanted to go to school.
Oh.
I used to pick them up and go to school, wait for them to come out. My mom let me do it.
Oh.
I don't know if I would have let my child do that, but I did it, and it was like down the street, so that's probably why.
Yeah.
She also had me in after-school programs. Like the Agape Center was a place down the street from my house. It's a Christian after-school program.
Okay.
So I got to interact with them, but it was nerve-wracking. I didn't know. I was so shy. I used to hide under my mom's skirt. I didn't want to talk to people ever. I only would talk to my brothers and my mother and my dad and whatever, people in my home.
Right.
But having to be in those environments really helped me open up. And then moving from Chicago to Atlanta when I was 14 and being thrown into public school, that to this day is a traumatic experience for me because kids are mean.
Yeah.
Kids are mean, especially going to a small town where everyone knows each other from kindergarten. Here comes
So if
this
you're jumping
girl. Who are you?
in,
Who are you? And then the culture shock of going from a big city to this small town place, and everyone talks funny, and like I just felt like an alien. I felt like an alien, and everyone knew all these. I was sheltered, so like all these like sexual terms, and I remember the first time I learned what a menage a trois was. I was like, what?
Oh my goodness.
It was very, 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 very hard. It was hard. It was freshman year was hard, and I got bullied.
Yeah.
I bumped a girl. It was a yearbook signing, and I accidentally bumped into this girl, and I go, sorry. And it was one of the meanest girls in school, and she had her posse with her. Kind of like, you ever watch The Proud Family?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
You know those three mean
Yep.
girls? They looked like them in my
Yep.
mind. And
Just
she
like
starts
them.
following me.
Oh no.
Yeah. And to the buses, because I took the bus every day, tried to spit on me. She missed, thankfully, and then I got mad. I told you I'm a fighter. So I got mad, so I launched at her, and the security guard grabbed me. I didn't get in trouble, but grabbed me midair and stopped me. Because I was like, oh, I may not know a lot, but I know you don't spit on somebody. And I was like ready to fight. And then,
Oh my goodness.
then it didn't end there. So then she was like, oh, what bus are you on? All right, I know where you live. I know where you live. And they drove to school every day. So they used to wait outside of my house. They used to wait outside the bus stop, waiting for me.
These kids
and
had nothing better to do
they
than wait for
bullied
Gabrielle
me.
Elizabeth.
They bullied me. And I was so quiet. And everyone, because I was quiet, people thought I was conceited and stuck up, and she thinks she's better. None of this was true.
No.
I was just trying to survive. And
How did this end?
eventually it got so bad that my mom couldn't go to the school with me because she had we moved to Georgia because she needed 2 knees replaced and 2 hips replaced because she has degenerative joint disease.
Yeah.
And she knew that if we stayed in Chicago, I would have to go to public school in Chicago, which would have been worse going to public school in Douglasville, Georgia, because it's just it's kind of like going to school in New York. That's the culture, you know what I mean? It's rougher.
It's tough.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
And I can be tough, but I'm pretty sweet. And so we came to Georgia. My oldest brother, Mark, was kind enough to let us live with his family.
Okay.
And so we lived there for 4 years while she got all of her surgeries taken care of.
Wow.
And wait, what was the question?
How did this end with the bullies?
Okay, so my mom couldn't go to the school because she was healing.
Right.
So
right.
my sister-in-law took me to the school, and we talked to the principal, and they were like, and we told them all these things that's been happening, and like we had photos of proof that these people were bullying me.
Yeah.
And the principal was like, okay, well, we can expel them because bullying's, they have 0 tolerance. And I go, again, I'm sweet. I go, I don't want that. I don't want her to have to leave school for that. I just want her to leave me alone. That's all I want. And I said, and I don't want to be the one who has to, like, if I see her coming, I have to move. If she sees me, I don't ever want to walk down a hallway with her. I want her, if she sees me, she has to go the other way, regardless if she's late to class, any of that. I don't want to be the one affected because I'm letting her stay here. I need her to stay out of my way. And after that day, and then she wrote me a letter apologizing. And it was I wish I would have saved it. I didn't, but I wish I would have. But when I read the letter, it made me understand her better because she barely could write, honestly. And not in a mean way. Not like, oh, that bitch is, I probably can't curse.
It's an adult program.
Okay,
you
that
say
bitch
whatever
can't
you
write.
want.
That bitch dumb. Like, I could have thought that, but instead
Yeah.
I thought, wow, she's going through something. This girl has, I don't know what's going on at home or whatever, but something's going on to where she can't. It was like, I'm sorry for hurting you. Like, it was, you know what I mean? It was vague.
Yeah.
It wasn't written properly. And it made me glad that I didn't have her expelled.
Because it would have made it worse.
Because it would have made it worse. I would have taken away even more of normalcy. And it's not condoning anything that she did. She shouldn't have treated me that way. And I'm thankful that she gave me that apology. But yeah, I think empathy is a really important thing to have.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
It does. I didn't expect it to go there.
Okay.
Jeez. No, it's so true that, I mean, it starts with, because I always wonder, like, where does hate come from? Where does ignorance come from? Where does bullying come from? And I always feel like it comes from lack of education. Lack of education about another culture, lack of education on kindness, just ignorant. You haven't learned that, or you don't want to learn that, or pain. So for you to tell me that, the letter's written that way, it's like literally has no idea or didn't, have an idea on, wow. Just wow.
Yeah, I haven't told that in so long. I tried to forget that memory.
That's funny. As you're telling these stories, I'm reminded of a lot from my childhood that it's just like how much it shapes you. Not to like be like this is a therapy session or anything like that.
It feels like Meisner to me. I'm in a Meisner class.
But
now.
it's that stuff change. It affects you because I've experienced the bullying thing, and it's like, wow, that really affects how you behave in everything that you do. Up until adulthood, until you re-experience it in a class or a therapy session.
And because bullies are usually ones, they're being bullied. Bullies are people, usually. There are always exceptions to the rule, but bullies are usually the ones who are being bullied. So I'm sure in some shape or form.
Usually worse, like by their parents.
Yeah.
Like something that's just like a spiritual.
Parents, siblings.
It's like hurting their spirit.
An authority figure within their life, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what that girl's doing. Her name was Aisha. Maybe I shouldn't have said her name, but I don't know her last name, so we're good.
You're good.
Her name, and I doubt she's listening to a Broadway podcast.
Probably not. Probably not.
Her name was Aisha. No, I'll never forget it.
My parents had to get me out of a fight in middle school. There was a kid that, I don't know, something about sitting at a table or something. You don't remember what it was. He just wanted to fight me, and I was like, "We're not going to fight." Like I went home and told my parent, I was like, I'm not going to fight this kid. And he was like half my size too, you know what I mean? And I was like, I'm not going to
picking a fight with you.
Yeah. And it wasn't like I'm not going to fight you because I'm going to beat you up. But it was just like, I'm not going to go
do that.
Meet you on the bridge where kids fight. Like, I'm not going to do what?
Meet you on the bridge.
You know what it was?
I
There was
know
like
exactly
every
what you
school
mean.
has a location.
Yep.
And we had a bridge over the highway that you'd cross. There's more parking on the other side of it, and you have to cross it past these kids. And I was just like, man, childhood. You learn it's so much. It sets you up so much for your future. Okay, so now we touched on kindness, work ethic.
Okay.
Where does that come from?
My mother.
What has she taught you about it?
Well, I think my mom is just one of the smartest people in the world. Period.
Great.
And she's always taught me that if you fall, you pick yourself back up again and you try again. I don't know. I guess
Okay.
maybe it's from homeschooling. I can't really pinpoint a specific thing. Yeah, I can't think of something in particular. I just know that anytime I didn't achieve something, my mom was like, well, just try again.
Huh.
Just try again. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I can really say.
I always wondered, like, if I was homeschooled, I'd always want to, like, go play in my room or something. You know what I mean? Because you don't have the barriers
Well,
of
what
the
was nice-
classroom.
I didn't wake up till 10 o'clock most days, 9
Hello.
maybe. Stayed in my pajamas, did my homework for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Was done usually by noon.
Yeah.
And then we just had the rest of the day to do whatever we wanted. Whether that was drawing. We couldn't watch a lot of television or any. I said the inflection was weird on that. A lot of television. TV.
Okay.
Couldn't watch a lot of that. So we would write thank you notes. So she's taught us a lot of gratitude.
Wow.
We would to learn to talk to people. We used to call pet stores. We would look in the phone book and to teach us how to use a phone book and like dictionaries and stuff.
Yeah.
We would look in the phone book and find places that we wanted to call, and we would have a list of questions that we had. I loved animals, so I would call pet stores and I would ask about their dogs and their cats or whatever. And my mom would talk to them first and be like, hi, my daughter wants to ask you a few questions. So I would just do that, and that taught me how to talk on the phone. And now I think that's something that a lot of kids nowadays could learn from, because kids don't, all we do is text.
No.
That's it.
Uh-huh.
People hate talking on the phone. And I think it's a skill. At this point, it's a skill that not everyone has.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Yeah, communicating.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's becoming a skill.
Hard for people. And it is a skill, yeah. And wait, what was the question?
Just work ethic.
Okay.
But then we were talking about the homeschooling and how, like, I would play.
Oh, yeah.
But you
So
you were
she would
doing
have
these
us do
thank you
these
notes.
things.
You'd call these stores.
Thank you notes, stores,
Creativity with drawing.
writing. She would have us write little short stories,
Wow.
coloring, drawing. Like, and this was not just when I was 5.
Yeah.
12 years old. She'd be like, just go do that. She was all about creating. But my mom's a performer as well. She's a singer, choir. She never really did it professionally, but she sang at a lot of people's weddings. She has a beautiful, beautiful voice. But yeah, I think that's where I get it from. And just whatever you find with your hand to do it with all their might. And actually, I looked that up. Oh, no, this is actually something different. I find that there's a lot to be learned in quiet moments. And I attribute that also to listening, just being quiet. And my mom always says this verse. It's 1 Thessalonians 4:11, and it's study to be quiet and to do your own thing. And I feel that that's really helped me. Is you don't have to broadcast everything that you're doing all the time, because a lot of times if you're saying that to people will be that little nudge in you saying, well, why would you do that? Well, why are you doing that? Why? You know what I mean? You know, those little demons, the little devil on your shoulder, stopping you from doing the thing that you just want to try. And but if I'm just quiet in what I do, and I just tell the people that I know actually care about me, I find that I do better. So
Wow.
a lot of times I have my headphones on. It's not excluding anyone from my life and saying, I just want to be not bothered, so I'm going to put in my headphones. No, it's just I need some quiet time. I need some silence so I can reflect, so I can listen and hear what God has for me next. Yeah.
Wow. I say wow because that's so important. It's so important. You learn the most about yourself when you're alone.
Yeah. Which is why people don't like being alone.
No.
They always say, I can't sleep without the TV on. I can't sleep without da-da-da-da. Because
The
we're
phone.
afraid of our thoughts. We're afraid of them. They're loud. We have these voices in everyone has them. Whether it's that devil, that angel, like there are voices in your head always.
There's a human, obviously, and this is not new knowledge. I'm not a doctor on this one. We need to connect. Humans need to connect. We have to have that connection. Yet with the social media and the texting and the options to not become vulnerable or have an actual conversation, it can really screw with the psyche, because at the end of the day, we're survival beings. So we're always going to come back to connection, which is why you find yourself on YouTube watching someone else live their life.
That's so true.
And
that's so true.
It's serving that very subconscious need, but it's not serving the conscious need. And it can really
we need
mess you
tangible
up.
Relationships.
Yeah, you need to have like the actual
eye contact, physical touch.
It's
Think
a
about
necessity.
the babies, children that don't I like infants that don't get physical touch from their parents or from anyone up until the time, like kids that are abandoned, they have
Yeah, an
psychological
adoption home.
issues.
It's a different woman
They have
each
issues.
day. Yeah, because it's a different touch. It's a different person.
Mhm.
You're not being touched every minute. You're not being held. And that's so imperative
Yeah.
to have that human connection, which is, and it's not a plug for the show, but that's why I do this, is
Yeah.
because it's so important to have the I see you, I hear
Yeah.
you, I can feel what you're feeling.
Well,
And
I'm
everyone
telling my
else
story
can-
right now. It feels awesome.
Yeah.
It feels awesome. It really does. And I'm
Yeah.
learning stuff about myself as I'm speaking to you, which is crazy to think. I live in myself every day, but there are things that I've
But then
just,
once you say it aloud,
yeah.
and that's the best part, because there's going to be, without a doubt, someone listening to this conversation who's going to take away something that they may not ever even talk to anyone about, but it's going, they're going to grow in that moment,
And
become
it's funny
better,
you say that
become more.
because a lot of times you feel alone when you don't talk to, you don't
Yeah.
share experiences. You're like, I'm the only one who feels worthless in this moment. I'm the only one.
This is
who
only
feels
happening
not
to me.
Good enough.
Yeah.
This is only happening to me. Why does everyone else have it together? Especially with social media,
Oh,
you see
yeah.
the highlight reel,
Yeah.
and you feel it could get you so depressed. But that's why it's important to talk, like you were saying, because you're not alone. People are feeling the exact same way as you. I just watched Whitney Houston's documentary on Hulu. Please go watch it. It's the new one that was released in 2018. So there was one before, and now there's one that was just
Love
released
me a good doc.
in 2018.
Okay.
And it's on Hulu.
Yeah.
And it really shows the pressure of that superstardom. It's so much pressure, and she felt alone. She was like, "You guys just don't understand. You don't understand how much pressure it is." That's
Yeah.
what she would say. And
Yeah.
she said someone was saying that, I don't forgot who was in the interview, but they said that Michael Jackson and Whitney used to just sit in a room together. They wouldn't even talk. They would just sit and just not talk but there was like this unspokenness between them that, wow, you get me. You're going through the exact same thing as me. And to have that connection, I think really helped both of them. Does that mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just to know that, wow, you know what it feels like to be a superstar.
And to be
that
completely alone or
and
feel
to be
completely-
completely alone, because she said that her family calls her Nippy, and that's what her nickname was growing up, and everyone else calls her Whitney. And she said, and Nippy can call Whitney, but Whitney can't call Nippy. So Nippy can be like, "Hey, Whitney," and Whitney will be like, "Hey,
Yeah.
what's up?" and smile and do her thing. But if Whitney's like, "Hey, Nippy," she can't call Nippy.
Huh.
And I found that interesting, and I get that. I totally get that. Like, most people call me Gabby, and like, but I find that's more, I go by Gabrielle Elisabeth because it feels more structured, and it's the way that I want to portray myself on my first encounter. But as I get to know people, I'm like, well, you can call me Gabby. That's okay. You can call me Gabby, because that feels more familiar. I don't know. It makes, it's like okay, now I know you, so you can call me this now.
Yeah. I remember we had just celebrated the 1 year of this show, and you were at the party,
Yeah.
and I gave you like just a side hug. Do you remember this? And we
Yeah.
were standing with Pilar, and you're like, what did you said something like, I
don't
hate
know
to be
what I
touched.
said.
But
Oh, I
you're
do,
like, "It's
but I
okay."
want. But there was something about you.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Pilar, I saw Pilar look at
She
me.
was like,
She went, "Uh-oh," because you went in for a
Yeah.
hug, and she was like, "Uh-oh," because I don't really do that.
Do
I
that.
don't, unless it's someone that I feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
Like, I love hugs from my mom,
Of
but
course.
I don't know. There was just something about you. There's like this kindness about you that makes me want to share with you, and so I wanted to hug you,
Yeah.
and that doesn't happen often. I'm
Well,
telling
thank
you,
you.
it
That was funny, but it was that
doesn't.
kind of like, because there's certain people you meet and you just gel with them. You know,
Yeah.
you're on like, we're not talking about anything. Like, I don't know why we get along, but we get along.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell we share similar ideas and
Yeah.
thoughts and whatnot, but there's that unspoken, like what
Mhm.
Whitney and Michael were going with. They were just like, they get along.
Yeah.
Just people get along. And it's important to have that, even that opportunity to communicate and to realize, I don't get along with that person. I get along. Well, why don't I get along with that person? Is it me or them?
But what I find with that, I just put it on me. I can't control anything that they're doing or what they're saying. And I'll be damned if I let somebody steal my joy. I've let it happen way too many times. And I'm done with that. You're not going to steal my joy. So if you want to be unhappy and and just sit in your whatever, you can do that. But I'm still going to be kind to you on most days, because, we're human.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not
yeah,
perfect
we
by
are humans.
any means, but I'm going to be kind to you, and I'm just going to do unto others as you would them do unto you. I'm going to treat you as I would treat my best friend.
My best friend in the entire world, Nakia Peterkin, taught me this. It's
I met her. She's great.
She's a sweetie. What other people think of you isn't your business, you know,
Yeah.
isn't your concern. And then some people will take that as like, well, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. I'm just going to be, and then you come off as this like, you know, you're being rude, you're being mean. But it's that, no, the thing that matters is how you come off, the intention behind the way you behave.
Yes.
The way it's perceived is up in the air, and it's none of your business. But as long as you're coming off as best you can in a positive way, that's where your concern ends.
Yep.
Other than that, what
That's
other
it.
people
You
think of
can't
you doesn't
control
matter.
it.
Yeah.
And
And it changes the way
usually-
you interact, though.
Yeah.
Because you interact with people every day who are like, you know, having their bad moments or whatever. It's like, just water off my back. It's like, well, I knew how I came off in this situation, so how it
I
was
know my
received.
intentions behind what I did.
Yeah. Were they honestly negative? No. On to the next thing.
That's it. That's all you can control. And usually if a person's taking something negatively, it has everything to do with them and nothing to do with you if your intentions were pure and sincere. And sometimes, yes, you do say things that hurt people's feelings and you don't realize it and it wasn't intentional. But the only way that you'll know that is if they communicate with you. I can't know that I hurt your feelings unless you come to me and say, hey, unless I was intentionally doing it. Sometimes you can tell.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if I didn't mean anything negatively and I was just we were just having a conversation and I hurt your feelings, you need to communicate to me and say, hey, that really hurt me when you said this. And then I know to apologize. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, yes, it has, if you have good intentions and a person takes something negative, that's on them. But there's no way for you to know and to fix and correct anything if there isn't communication.
Verbal. Because you'll always feel it. You've been there. You know, you're in a rehearsal or something, and you see the most uncomfortable interaction, and both people ignore it, but like everyone else saw it, and you're like, oh, no one's going to forget how that made them feel.
Yep. And you hold on to it. If it's not addressed, you keep it. You have to address it, which is what therapy does for you. You have to get over it. You can't just ignore it and put it in your trunk, because eventually that trunk's going to fill up. And it's going to explode or like pop open.
It's going to start spilling all over the place. In life, what's most important to you?
Family. The chosen and the ones that aren't chosen. Family. And I've always told this feels so conceited to say, but when I was a kid, I would say, Mom, I'm going to do something great one day. I'm going to do something great. I want to change the world. I really truly believe that to this day, that I'm going to do something in this lifetime that's going to change the world in a positive way, whether that's feeding children, hungry children. Like, I love people like Audrey Hepburn. She was a humanitarian, you know, and so family and I guess human connection. That's what because I think the people who really leave their mark on this world know how to touch people in a way that most don't, like Oprah, for example, or Whitney Houston or Audrey Hepburn. Like, we remember these people because of the way that they made us feel. You rarely remember the things people did, but you always remember the way they make you feel.
Oh, yeah.
You always do. That's what we hold on to.
Maya Angelou said that.
Did she?
I was trying to think who said it because I'd heard that before.
See, I feel like everything I say is always a quote from somebody.
Yeah, I mean, none of it, like, you know, we're not coming up with any profound ideas. And it's so funny, some of these things we're talking about of like, well, they have to express the way they feel, otherwise you're not going to, it's like, these are like second grade themes. But to talk about them and listen to them, you know, in your 20s or your 30s or your 40s or 50s is a whole different thing. You know, it's like, whoa, sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring.
Thank God for a pair of shoes and a book. No, it's like, it's crazy.
Real. It's real.
What advice would you give to like a smart driven performer in the entertainment industry? It could be, you know, theater here in New York.
Be kind. Listen. And work your ass off.
What do you mean by that?
Love what you do and do it well. Study, go to classes, enjoy the journey. Like, again, I'm in a Broadway show and I'm still taking an acting class. I still go to voice lessons. I still am reading books constantly. I'm doing my research on shows that I want to be in and who's directing that, who the choreographer is. Like, do your research. You should, if you're doing something, again, you do it to the best of your ability and with all of your might. You put your everything into it, because if you're not doing that, why are you doing it? Why would you ever want to do something halfway? There's no point. There's no point. So yeah, drown in your work. Don't, like, absolutely still have fun and have friends and enjoy what, like, your relationships that you have. But yeah, you should have a PhD in what you do. Period.
Yeah. Yes. I was reading, I love this answer, and I want to add on to it for a second. I was just finished this book about marketing.
Ooh.
Random. Compared,
No, I
for
want to
art.
I'm going to ask you about this.
It's
I
good.
read it.
This is marketing. Seth Godin.
Okay.
I will talk about and he answers your emails too.
Ooh, that's
He
exciting.
does
Oh, that made my
within
heart
minutes.
flutter.
And he
Yes.
within minutes. And maybe not everyone, I don't know, mine, but but it's, it's how you write an email, but that's a whole separate episode. Anyway, so this book at the end of it, it's talking about he touches on a whole bunch of marketing. He's got Be More Chill in it, Hamilton, among, soft Coca-Cola products and all sorts of, like, marketing everything yourself. And there's this section at the end about actors and how it's like, how to get an agent, how to get recognized by a director or producer. And it's like, well, if I just get this agent, he needs for screenwriters, directors, choreographers, they all need agents and whatnot. And he's like, it's not about getting that agent or getting that opportunity. It's about making yourself irresistibly remarkable.
Yep.
Like, just everything that you're doing is just irresistible, and you're actually serving something or someone who needs to be served.
That.
It's not just like, where can I create a business to make money? It's who needs this, who would actually benefit from it, which is, again, not a new thought when creating a product, but it's that idea of being irresistibly remarkable. And you will get, like, agents, you'll get opportunities. It'll come because you're making yourself that PhD in what you do.
Success is where opportunity and hard work meet each other. It's something like the Oprah says this, but that's exactly what that is.
Yes. Yeah. What is it? Luck. Luck is opportunity meeting preparation.
Yeah. So
Luck.
yeah, this is the same kind of thing.
The same idea.
Same idea.
Same idea.
Yep.
But it's that if you by yourself,
do what you do.
Yeah.
Just do what you do.
I love this.
Do what you do.
This is filling me up. Okay, we are honestly wrapping up to the end here now.
Oh wait, I have
Go
one
on.
more.
Please.
I'm backtracking.
Go back.
Back to work ethic, and I think about I learned my work ethic from my grandmother, my mother's mother.
Yeah.
She came from Mississippi, sharecropper's daughter, barely had any money at all. Her brothers and sisters, 12 brothers and sisters, she would save her money to buy toothbrushes instead of candy and cakes like her brothers and sisters would do, because she knew that she wanted to get out. And so she knew you needed to have a good smile and good teeth and no cavities and decay. Because, if you're not living in a nice area, people don't take care of the teeth. That's really a really good sign to see where a person comes from. You look at their mouth. And she would save her money to buy a toothbrush and toothpaste and clean herself. And she ended up moving to Chicago. She ended up getting her PhD in education and education and something else. I wish my mother would shake her head at me for not knowing the other thing, but had her PhD. She came from nothing and built this entire life and this legacy. I am my grandmother's wildest dream, like my ancestors' wildest dream. That's a quote, but like I'm living out something that I don't know, that my grandmother probably prayed for me to do. It's making me feel emotional, honestly, because she probably wanted all this for me and more. All of this and more. And it feels really great to know that I've made her proud. And I'm continuing to make her proud. So yeah, I changed my answer.
I love that.
That's my grandmother.
No, I freaking love it.
Ivor May. Fun fact,
Ivor
her name was
May.
Mary Jane until she was 4.
And then they changed it.
And her aunt, I don't know if her aunt passed away or something, or my great aunt passed away, but then they changed her name to Ivor May after her aunt. Her aunt. Her name was Mary Jane. Mary Jane.
Oh my goodness.
Which I think is funny.
Oh my goodness.
And probably for the best that they changed it.
Ira May.
Ivor May.
Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's that discipline though.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So
that
I guess it's in my
discipline.
bones.
Brings you freedom.
So, yeah. She was a wonderful woman. A phenomenal woman.
Are there any texts you refer to daily? Quotes you live by?
I
Anything
look
that's
at-
in your mind?
I mean, there's that study to be quiet and to do your own thing.
Yeah.
1 Thessalonians 4:11. I look at the 4 agreements a lot. I have a small copy. There's a bigger book, and then there's a small condensed version that I look at nightly. I journal every night.
Is that just writing about your day or
Writing about my day,
specifics?
thoughts that are coming through my head, that I'm feeling. Like if I feel things of like insignificant or tired or just anything. And it sometimes it's just a sentence. Sometimes it's just a word. But I find it helps me sleep.
Yeah.
Helps me sleep. It helps me do better. And I refer back to it sometimes. And I like to look at the successes. Like when I feel like I've failed, I'll go back and I'll look at my journal and read a moment where I was doing well. And it gives me hope to continue to go forward. Because I'm like, wow, I will get out of this dark spell or this moment of feeling worthless, you know?
Yeah.
And what else do I look at? I watch a lot of documentaries.
They're good. They're good.
A lot of I listen to The Friend Zone.
Okay.
And there's this girl named Hey Fran Hey. I love her. She's so great. She's like a holistic person. What else do I do? I listen to Oprah a lot.
It's food for the soul.
That's
Is.
really. I love my essential oils, my diffuser, my sage, my Bible.
Yeah.
I try to read. I don't read it enough, but I try to read it every day.
Okay.
And yeah, that's really it.
If you
Guess
could,
it's a lot.
yeah, no,
I'm
I mean,
like, that's all.
you're like, now that I
50
list it,
things later.
sounds like a lot. If there was a word or a phrase that you could put on a billboard for millions of people to see, is there anything that comes to mind?
Hope. Period.
To have it.
Have hope. Just hope. And I wouldn't have hope or there is hope. Just hope. Because I think that's what, especially right now, that's just what we need. Just hope that there's more. Hope that you'll get out of what you're getting out of. Hope that there's a tomorrow. Hope that you can do anything.
To do anything.
Do anything.
Yes.
Yeah. And it makes me think of my favorite Disney movie is Pinocchio. And it's only because of one. I love Jiminy Cricket. And I love the blue fairy that comes.
Yeah.
And she sings that when you wish upon a star,
Yeah.
makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you. And I try to live my life that way. Just wishing and hoping and praying and doing the work.
Well, sitting in this theater, it looks like what your heart has desired is coming to you. Not to wrap it up like that, but that's
a
so
good
true.
tagline, yeah.
It's so true.
Mm-hmm.
Hope.
Anything is possible.
Yeah.
Like, and I like that sounds so much like the American dream, but it's true. Like no matter where you come from, I come from the south side of Chicago, not like coming from a 1-income home. My father is a police officer, like 6 kids, like that 7 technically, but 6, you know what I mean? Like that's a lot. That's a lot. And because of people's kindness, my brother's kindness, Joyce, my resident director's kindness, like that, and me being kind, I think I leave myself out of it a lot, but I think that's a testament to just what I'm doing and how I'm being perceived by people. I think kindness begets kindness.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean I'm going to get everything always, but when it's right for me, it's right for me, and I'm going to get it. And the people who are supposed to help me along this journey called life will be there.
100%.
Will make themselves apparent.
Yeah. Wow. Great conversation.
I thank you.
This is fun. This is fun. Where can we find you?
Oh, I should have looked this up.
Well, it's going to be in the show
Okay.
notes. I know you have Twitter. You've got a
I
website.
have Twitter. I don't use Twitter nearly enough, but my
Okay.
Instagram is at Gab, G-A-B, Elizabeth with an S. So G-A-B-E-L-I-S-A-B-E-T-H.
Okay.
And then my website is Gabrielle
Hyphen. Yeah, it's a hyphen. The minus sign.
The
hyphen.
minus sign.
Right, yeah.
Gabrielle hyphen Elisabeth.
Yep.
.com. So
Yes.
www.gabrielle-elizabeth.com.
And a beautiful website, I might add. It is.
Oh, thank you.
It is.
Thank you. I felt like me.
Yeah, it is.
I actually am about to get new headshots, so I'm putting new shots up.
If anyone's looking to make a website and you want to have an about section, read hers. It's good. No, it's good. It's short. The paragraphs are short, but it touches on, like, I felt like I knew you at the end of it.
Nice.
Like
Thank
what
you.
your journey to present day. And it wasn't too wordy, and it wasn't thanking like the crossing guard or anything like that. You know what I mean? It wasn't too much info, but it also wasn't too little. It was good.
you.
It was really good about. I was like, oh, I know about her now.
Thanks.
So
Thank you.
kudos. Did anyone help you with that, or was that
No,
your...
that was
okay?
all
Cool.
me.
No,
I
it's just
didn't-
it's good. No, it's so important to talk about yourself.
Yeah.
I know that sounds really conceited, but especially today where self-promotion is the it, and we all have so many opportunities and options on what we look at and content we create and all this stuff, and it's super particular if you're a performer, and, you know, I'm going back and forth on this, but getting really good at talking about yourself. You know, what's your, like, shorter and shortest story about yourself, because
But
no
still
one wants
meaningful.
long, but it's all meaningful. So
It has to be honest.
another podcast episode.
Woohoo.
Yeah, anyway, this has been an absolute joy. Thank you for taking this time with me.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
This is great, and it's so great to speak to you in the
world. Beautiful.
the Sondheim Theater, Stephen Sondheim Theater.
Yeah.
It's really wonderful. Is there anything else that you want to add for any of the listeners before we end this conversation?
If you want it, go get it. That's it.
If you want it, go get it.
If you want it, go
And
get it.
you are getting it. Good for
Thanks.
you. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Gabrielle Elisabeth.
That's me.
You've been listening to Entertainment X, the podcast. You can follow Entertainment X on Instagram at _EntertainmentX_. If you haven't yet, go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join Clay next week for another curiosity conversation on Entertainment X. Thank you for listening.